Since 2002, the list of prisoners at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base has shrunk from 775 to 229. Many have been released for lack of evidence. Last week, the Pentagon alleged that 14%, or 74 detainees, are, quote, confirmed or suspected of re-engaging in terrorist activities. At least one case does not seem to match the allegation, says Nancy Youssef in her latest article as McClatchy Newspaper's Pentagon correspondent. Currently based in Kabul, she reported on the story of Haji Sahib Rahullah Wakil, who was imprisoned for 6 years.
He was a tribal leader in Konar province, which is in eastern Afghanistan, and where there's a large U.S. military presence. And he was considered a tribal elder, someone who settled disputes. Shortly after the Americans arrived in Konar province, there had been a shooting. 3 residents of his district had been shot by the American forces, and he says that he asked the American commander to meet with him, and he went with the message, look, please don't engage in our populations unless you check with us first. We can tell you who's good, who's bad, and we don't want to have these misunderstandings. We understand that you're here to liberate us from the Taliban, and we appreciate it, but we really want to work together with you. And he went with a military commander and with several bodyguards, and they met for about an hour, he says, and on the way out, literally as he's walking out with the base, of the base, he was arrested and told that he was a terrorist and that he was an Al-Qaeda operative. He was taken to Bagram Air Base, where he was held for 7 months, and where he alleged some of the worst abuses happened against him, and from there he was transported to Guantanamo Bay. He says that he was questioned about 60 times during his detention. There were 2 hearings in which he asked for his appeal, and they were both denied. On the 3rd, he was released in 2008 and went back to the community. He came back to Afghanistan and promised to sort of work towards helping the Afghan people, towards supporting the government, which he contends that he has, and there's nobody here to say that he hasn't. And while he was detained, members in Konar province, politicians, and other influential members of Afghanistan were sending letter after letter to the Americans asking for his release. And then last spring, the Pentagon released a list of 74 people they suspect or confirm former Guantanamo detainees who they say are suspected or confirmed to have returned to terrorism. He was listed as someone who was suspected. The problem is their sourcing for suspected to have returned to terrorism is very thin. It's single source. And there's speculation here in Afghanistan that a rival tribal leader who was working closely with Americans at the time, I frankly don't know if he is still or not, that he had made these allegations against Haji Rahullah. And he says when he returned, Hamid Karzai, the U.S.-backed president of Afghanistan, apologized for his detention, told him that he was sorry that Haji Rahullah was arrested and that his detention was beyond the president's control. And since then, he's been meeting regularly with members of government on behalf of his province, essentially advocating for the issues that they face in their community. And they've released several of these lists and over the years, and sometimes someone who is listed as a confirmed suspected terrorist in a previous list is the next one is only listed as a suspected one. And I think there are real questions about how the Pentagon goes about labeling someone as a suspected or confirmed terrorist and how much information they have, not only about the people that they're holding in Guantanamo, but about what happens to them after they're released. It's not really clear who compiles that list and how they determine who's a suspected terrorist and who's a confirmed one. As I mentioned earlier, this is the 4th list that they've released, and there are real inconsistencies. The list is not complete. They say that there are 74 people suspected or confirmed of returning terrorism, but the names listed is only a partial one. So one of the ways you're able to find Haji Rahullah is because he just happened to be on that partial list. So we don't even really know who all 74 people are on this latest list. At what point is someone a terrorist if they've never been convicted? That was certainly Haji Rahullah's point, that he never got the trial to sort of clear his name. And there is an implication in that if someone is held in Guantanamo, right, that they were a terrorist and possibly went to it. The other thing is the list doesn't deal with the possibility, which I think is a very real one, that people who weren't involved in terrorism before sort of got indoctrinated while they were at Guantanamo and ended up getting involved in terrorist activities only after they were held at Guantanamo. But again, the list is so vague that it really doesn't deal with any of those issues. It's just a list of names, when they were released, and a few words about why they're suspected or confirmed of release of being involved in terrorist activity. So it doesn't, you have to go through and look at every individual file to figure out how strong of a case there was, why they were released, and what possibilities are there that they were in fact involved in terrorism activity before. It's very unclear. I think sometimes that list is used for political reasons, as part of this debate about the future of Guantanamo Bay and its prisoners. But here in Afghanistan, it had real implications not only on one person's life, but also on this fragile and nascent political system that the United States is holding up.